International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOIL and Agricultural Development Bank.
Coming up on International Trade Focus,
we shall take a look at the Ghana International Trade Commission, its objectives and its functions. And later,
President Akufo-Addo has commissioned the Phase 3 of the Zonda Sinotruk Chinese Automobile Assembly Plant under the One District, One Factory initiative to push Ghana's domestic and export automobile market.
Ghana International Trade Commission (GITC) is the agency that ensures that Ghana conducts its international trade activities in conformity with the world's trade system. On today's edition of International Trade Figures, we're going to find out more about the GITC. International Trade Figures is brought to you by GOIL Good Energy, ADB, Truly, Agric and More, Public Elegance and Pediasy Valley Resort. My name is Anna Spiel. Stick and stay.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead with expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Are you an importer or exporter? Do you need quick financing at the best rate on the market? ADB has good news for you. Walk into any agricultural development bank location nationwide for that solution to all your trade financing needs. ADB offers you pre-financing of exports and imports, post-shipment credit facilities, bank guarantees, the issuance and acceptance of letters of credit, documentary bills for collection, outward documentary collection. Enjoy free advisory services from our well-trained, dedicated trade officers. Exporters of agricultural products are encouraged to take advantage of this great service. For further enquiries, call us on 0302 210 210. ADB, making trade finance easy. ADB, Truly Agric and More.
ADB. What is all this? Why can't we ever seem to get this right? Our meetings are always chaotic, and that's why we are never able to plan efficiently. I have to do something now.
Yes, don't we all love solutions? The Pediasy Valley Resort welcomes you to the stunning surrounds of the Eastern Highlands of Ghana for your next business meeting, seminar, retreat, or conference.
All their venues are equipped with the latest audiovisual technology as well as their very able conference and banqueting staff. At Pediasy Valley Resort, you will work in peace and relaxation, coupled with scenes and adventures at the Bree Botanical Gardens, the Art Village, and many more. If you find yourself in my situation, remember, Pediasy Valley Resort is your #1 solution. Pediasy Valley Resort. Live life.
up next is our focal point segment. As many small and medium-sized enterprises began to expand internationally, nations, industry players and firms were all confronted with similar questions from different perspectives. How can standards be set so that respective industries remain competitive on the international markets? Can tariffs be lowered abroad for products of interest to our industry? The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, signed on October 30, 1947, was a legal agreement minimizing barriers to international trade by eliminating or reducing quotas, tariffs, and subsidies while preserving significant regulations. The GATT was intended to boost economic recovery after World War II through reconstruction and liberalizing global trade. When the Uruguay round of trade negotiations was launched in 1986, only 23 countries showed active interest in the work of the Geneva-based General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, by appointing national negotiators to serve in Geneva. However, 8 years later, in 1994, when the Uruguay round was completed and the World Trade Organization was created, many more countries were engaged in trade negotiations. The majority of them have now established permanent missions in Geneva. Presently, the WTO has 164 member states representing over 98% of global trade and global GDP. Ghana has been a WTO member since January 1, 1995. And a member of GATT since October 17, 1957. The WTO system enables government to negotiate improved market access to enable firms to convert trade concessions into trade opportunities. Benefits the WTO presents to the business community are enormous. For exporters, the system provides secure access to markets, enabling exporting industries to make investment and production plans under greater conditions of certainty. The system also provides stability of access to export markets, as all countries are required to apply the uniform set of rules in the various agreements. To facilitate imports, the basic rule requires that imports be allowed in without further restrictions upon payment of duties, and that other national regulations applied at the border conform with the uniform rules laid down by the agreement. The importance of the establishment of an agency that ensures that a country's international trade transactions are conducted in conformity with WTO standards cannot be overemphasized. Not only will this agency ensure compliance with international trade regulations, domestic industries will be protected from the impact of unfair trade practices, and transparency, fairness, efficiency, and objectivity in the application of measures affecting international trade and the use of world trade measures will be assured. This will enable particularly developing countries engage in international trade business, at the same time ensure that local producers' rights are protected. Our focal point segment today highlights Ghana's International Trade Commission and its functions. The Ghana International Trade Commission, GITC, was established by an Act of Parliament in September 2016. GITC is the agency charged to promote Ghana's international trade through the application of fair, efficient, transparent and objective measures affecting international trade in conformity with WTO rules and regulations. The GITC's functions are to advise, recommend, and provide analytical support to the Ministry of Trade and Industry on proposals for trade-related legislation, preparation of documents, and negotiating position of government during international trade negotiations, Ghana's compliance with its bilateral and multilateral trade treaties and obligations, tariff levels for specific sectors of the economy, and on matters affecting trade and industry after monitoring and reviewing the country's international trade. For manufacturers, the Commission will determine complaints before it in areas of safeguard measures, stabilization of imported products by a foreign government, the dumping of imported products into our domestic market, tariff adjustment, and actions which are deemed to affect fair trade. For importers and traders, the Commission will settle disputes arising from classification and valuation of imported products between them and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. For exporters, the Commission will conduct studies and publish reports on the competitiveness of Ghana's tariff structure and its impact on the domestic industry, market access opportunities, and challenges with exports from Ghana. Stakeholders believe the establishment of the GITC will bring about a hassle-free environment within which international trade can thrive. And with the inception of the AFCFTA, the GITC will play an instrumental role in ensuring that the country complies with the AFCFTA's rules and regulations. If you just tuned in, you're watching International Trade Focus. Mr. Frank Ajekum is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana International Trade Commission and our guest for today. Our inter-segment comes up next. So like all countries in the world, Ghana is expected to conduct its international trade activities in a manner that is in conformity with the world's trade systems. On today's edition of International Trade Focus, we are going to engage the Ghana International Trade Commission, GITC. They are the agency that have been charged with the responsibility to guide Ghana in the conduct of our international trade activities. Mr. Frank Ajekum is the Executive Secretary of the GITC and our guest for today. Mr. Frank Ajekum, thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to talk to us.
Pleasure to be on your program, and thanks for coming by.
Thank you too. So first of all, stakeholders, particularly those within the international trade arena, would want to know all about the Ghana International Trade Commission. Can you throw more light on that?
Well, okay. So the Ghana International Trade Commission is a regulatory institution that is has been set up by government to regulate Ghana's international trade and bring it in conformity with that of world standards, all under the auspices of the WTO. The essence of the Trade Commission and trade commissions all over the world is to make sure that local industry will thrive even as they face competition from international community. One aspect of free trade is that, the bane of the problem in developing countries such as ours is that, very soon we set up industries, and before long, our industries are collapsing. The usual culprits are, well, we don't have good workmanship, our machines are obsolete, we have high costs of turnout and stuff like that. All that may be true. But the other aspect of competition and trading is what is termed as unfair trade practices. And unfair trade practices, as termed by the WTO, World Trade Organization, are things that come into your country that are dumped onto your country. And some of them come in and they just flood your markets, therefore making your goods that are produced in the country uncompetitive. And so the WTO in its wisdom has agreed and allowed countries to set up these commissions to look into these matters, and where appropriate, where it's legal, there are sanctions that are imposed. I must say that when you talk about dumping here, dumping is not in the ordinary sense as we see it. Dumping in the sense of the trade regulation is where, for instance, goods are brought in from a country outside Ghana, and then even though they have to charge freight charges, pay customs duties and all those things, they get in here and still sell at rates which are at times even lower than how much they are being sold in their home countries. Okay? So that is a big difference. You realize that a good that is being sold in Ghana, having crossed the seas or having crossed the air, whatever it is, or having crossed the land borders and stuff like that, and paid all the charges that they have to pay, still get into this country and they are sold at a cheaper price, lower than the price that is being sold even in their own country. So when this happens, you want to know why. And usually you go in and you find that either these countries or these industries or dealing in these manufacturers have their products subsidized. Now, I must say that subsidy in itself is not a bad thing. Every company, every country wants to subsidize their industries to make them grow. But in the terms of the World Trade Organization, subsidy is wrong where it is specific and targeted. Specific and targeted in the sense that if, for instance, you are producing this pen, and then all countries, all industries in that country do not enjoy a subsidy, but this pen alone is given a certain subsidy to make it produce at a lower and cheaper price, which is then exported to another country. Then, of course, it's beginning to be damaging to that other country or to the third country that is going to. Why? Because you've been able to lower the cost of production, to enable you to sell to that country at a cheaper rate. And what does is that it distorts the market for any pen manufacturer in that country. But usually these are very innocuous things that we don't really pay attention to. Because when it comes, the first thing, as for developing countries, their things are not good, are inferior, their cost of production is always very high, and we put all those things in there. And then, of course, we gloss over. But then the WTO itself in its wisdom has to realize that some of these things are very debilitating to the progress and then the well-being of countries like ours. The other thing about dumping is also that you have a certain area where, within a certain period of time, for if we're taking this pen as an example, where this pen is being imported into Ghana, maybe every month or so we bring in about 100,000, let's say, cartons, 100,000 tons. That is a normal rate. So that if you're a business person and you also want to set up a pen factory, you take that into consideration. You know that, look, Ghana has this import of about so you're also able to make your business value to make sure that when you enter the market, you can also make some profit. Now, this comes on what we call the safeguard measures. These are raised when, for instance, within a certain period of time, there's a deep surge and sharp increase in the imports of products. When we say deep and sharp surge in the import of products, it means that when in a certain period, maybe within a period of about 6 months or even 1 year, you realize that instead of the goods coming at a normal rate of, say, 100,000 tons a year or a month or whatever, now it's coming at about 300,000 tons. All of a sudden, with a period of about 6 months, realize that your home country is flooded with these products. So the normal value that comes in is increased to about 3 or 4 or 5-fold all of a sudden. What this does is that it then makes the product very common in the market and begins to affect your price levels. Because then when it's so cheap, because they brought it from the country, from some, as your products now become unattractive, and that is another thing that we should look at, and usually we are unable to check. Safeguard measures in itself is not a bad trade measure, because on the safeguard measures, you do import the things that you pay the correct prices and stuff like that. But because you've all of a sudden decided to dump your goods on this market, then it becomes a worry to us, and we have to take a measure to look at it.
Right. So my question was, I know that one of your mandates is to safeguard the interest of local producers. So in the case of dumping, this dumping problem that we are talking about, I mean, taking a look at Ghana's market, you see a lot of these cheap products on the market that is making it difficult for our local producers or manufacturers to compete. So what is the GITC? What specific role do you play in this, and how do you enforce your mandate?
The idea is not to stop the free flow of goods or to prevent Ghana from being part of the world free trade process. That is not the idea at all. So that if you're able to produce your goods in a very, the way you have to produce them, it's high quality, it comes to this country and it's still cheap, and you've paid all the boxes have been ticked out, nobody can say anything. That means that you have a better economies of trade in your country, and then you can do what you have to do. That isn't the problem. The problem is where we have to go behind. If it's cheaper than it's being sold on, we have to find out how come such a product is so cheap. Then we go to make the checks to find out, is it cheap because you've been subsidized in your home country in the manner that we've described, that it's specific and targeted? Then if that is the case, then we are able then to make a case. And that is a WTO function that allows us, and all countries do it. All countries do it. I mean, especially in the developed countries, almost all of them have these trade commissions. Unfortunately for Africa, it's still very new. In Africa at the moment, we have just in 4 countries, apart from Ghana, you have it in, let's say, I think, South Africa, in Egypt, and I think lately in Madagascar. but we are the ones who are feeling the pinch the most. So I think that it's a good thing government set this up when they set up about 2 or 3 years ago to make sure that we are also able to compete on an even keel, so that we give industries the leeway that they want to enable them to produce. Because you see, when you set up an industry, you employ people, and then before long, you are not making the profits that you have to make. What that means is that you begin to close shop, you lay off people, government doesn't get the taxes that it needs to do all the developmental things that we want government to do. Very soon, you are closing the industry. And it's happened so very many times. And for us, who have taken it upon ourselves to do the right thing in making sure that we have homegrown industries, we should be able to make sure that these industries are well protected. They are able to stand the test of time, not because they fear competition, but because they have to face competition that is genuine, that is right, not unfair competition. Because as I said, free trade does not mean unfair competition. What we are talking about here is fair competition, and of course we encourage our industries to be up and doing, to produce to the mark that is well standard. But they can only do so if they are competing on fair trade terms, not on unfair trade terms.
Right. So one topic or issue that is trending is the reversal of the 50% reduction in benchmark policy. And with the GITC's function as an advisor, a recommender, and a provider of analytical support to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and at the same time ensuring the safeguard of local producers. I know you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. What sort of recommendation or advice have you given to stakeholders concerning this problem?
Okay, let me begin by saying that, benchmark values were a policy introduced by government to help and increase our turnover, the kind of monies we get from the ports because of competition from neighboring countries, which was really kind of undercutting us. So the policy to begin with was well thought out to make sure that we get the gains that we wanted to gain, to make sure that we prosper, and so that's how it came in. But in the process, after a period of time, some lapses have been realized, which are still being looked at. As part of our process, we did engage both sides, both importers and manufacturers here, had some series of stakeholder consultations with them. And as has come out clearly now, for importers of finished goods, it's perfect. It's what they want, because of course they're able to import things at a lower reduced rate, which enables them to make the profit that they want to make. But for manufacturers, they find themselves in a kind of a bind, because they are then beginning to import things at rates which make it very difficult for them to be able to produce and make a profit. Okay, so as you really said, between a rock and a hard place, what do you do? And as has become the public knowledge now, government has said that there needs to be a re-engagement on the whole matter to see which way to go and what to do. That is being done, and I'm sure that in the fullness of time, government will then come out with the policies that they think should, the way forward in all this. But so it's between a rock and a hard place in any way, but I think that there should be a way out, and there must be a way out, certainly, where something can be done, and we have to wait for government to come out with its findings as the stakeholder engagements are going on. Yes, but we also had stakeholder engagements with all these sides, and we had a fair idea of how tough and how difficult both sides are, because while one side felt very comfortable with it, the other side did not feel so comfortable with it. But then that was the issue at stake. What do you do? And government, in its own wisdom, has said, look, let's hold on, let us backtrack, let us take another look at the whole issues and see how we can move forward. So let's see I'm sure government will come out with a very good policy that could meet the satisfaction of both sides.
Right, so if you just tuned in, you're watching International Trade Focus, and this is our in-depth segment. Today we are engaging with GITC the agency that has been charged with the responsibility to guide Ghana in the conduct of our international trade activities. The conversation continues after this break. Don't go away.
What is all this? Why can't we ever seem to get this right? Our meetings are always chaotic, and that's why we are never able to plan efficiently. I have to do something now.
Yes, don't we all love solutions? The Tariff Valley Resort welcomes you to the stunning surrounds of the Eastern Highlands of Ghana for your next business meeting, seminar, retreat, or conference.
All their venues are equipped with the latest audiovisual technology as well as their very able conference and banqueting staff. At Tariff Valley Resort, you will work in peace and relaxation, coupled with scenes and adventures at the Bree Botanical Gardens, the Art Village, and many more. If you find yourself in my situation, remember, Tariff Valley Resort is your #1 solution. Tariff Valley Resort. Live life.
Ohima, don't me taking number first.
Are you? Didn't you tell you say take the number give me?
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really?
Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talking about what?
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fuel up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him.
Hey, go for mami.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Goyle is good energy.
A warm welcome back. We're having a conversation with Mr. Frank Ajekum. He's the Executive Secretary of the GITC. Stay tuned. Right, talking about local producers or manufacturers, with you being the Executive Secretary of the GITC, I believe there's so many engagements with local producers or manufacturers, especially those who export their produce outside the country. What are some of the challenges that you say they are being faced with, apart from unfair competition due to cheaper prices of foreign imported goods?
Well, okay, for many of them, the issue of competition in the sense of where they have to produce at a higher rate and then, begin to compete. The interesting thing we found out is that since this commission set up is that there are some companies that have set up in Ghana, foreign-owned companies that are set up in Ghana. And I must say that this commission, once you're set up in Ghana, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, you are seen as an industry in Ghana, and then you fall under the rules of Ghana. So whatever we do, whether you're foreign or local, also affects you. And the interesting thing we found out is that there are foreign companies that are set up by foreigners in Ghana who are now beginning to complain about products coming from their home countries, because they are now beginning to undercut what they have started doing here. From their home countries, they've started beginning to complain now that no, you shouldn't allow this to come in, you shouldn't allow that to come in, you shouldn't allow. Some of them even want outright ban of something. Of course, we can't do that under WTO. So it's telling you that what bites Ghanaian industries bites everybody, local people bites everybody in the same way. And what happens here is what happens in many developing countries, where we are able to face competition, and I'm saying that competition may not always be unfair. There are already tough rules going through fair competition because already we realize that in most of these developed countries, They have the economies of scale. They are able to produce at prices that compete and higher quality, which in itself we are battling with already. If that were the case alone, then there's no problem at all, because we all want quality goods at affordable rates. But then where there's this added function of these unfair treatments coming in, then we have to complain. So what Ghanaian industries face is, of course, they talk about high cost of production. They talk about, high cost in terms of electricity, in terms of water, instead of everything. But then I am saying that those are only symptomatic. This is only symptomatic of developing countries. That developing countries are all going through these processes, but we need to get through them to be able to harness our base before we're able to move on the way we want to move on. And the way to do that is that those who are into genuine trade should be protected. They should be allowed to fester. They should be allowed to grow and be able to face the competition the way they need to. Because really, in most of these other countries, I mean, there are regulations that you have to face. There are things that you have to do, and you just can't walk in there and start trading. So it's universal. Even today, you realize among themselves, I mean, even between China and US, we hear all the time, China and European countries, even between Europe and the US, who are supposed to be best of allies, there are trading wars all going on all the time. And it's because there's trade commissions which are able to fine-tune and look at these things, because these are, of course, if you don't have the time and the expertise and stuff to look at it, it's a very technical area. To look at it properly, it becomes something that just goes on, and your industries are falling apart, and you are blaming the wrong things all the time. But it's not all the time that we are incapable of doing things, but it's because at times the influence that come in such terms are not looked at well.
So now the continental free trade market is trading under AfCFTA commenced in January 2021. GITC, how are you positioning yourself to ensure that the country is able to harness the full benefits of the continental free trade area?
Well, as I've said, in the whole of Africa, there are 4 commissions. ECOWAS is trying to fashion out the commission for the sub-region. And then, of course, AfC itself has a chapter on such commissions, trade remedy treaties, where it is working on. It's not full yet. So we are in tandem with that to make sure that when it comes up, we are ready. But all the time, already, we've set up, government has gone ahead to set us up ahead of any other West African country. It tells you the foresight government had to make sure that, because see, this becomes even more important now that we have our borders open throughout Africa. There are countries that, whether we like it or not, more industrialized in certain aspects of commodities, of trading than us. And all these ones are going to come in, with full force, because now the borders are open, there's zero rating in many things, so they are going to come in with full force to inundate our markets. And if our local industry has not gotten to that standard, and some of these come in, and trade is war. Trade is war in many ways. Everybody's trying to find a way to undercut you to make big profits and huge profits. So people use all kind of ways, channel mechanisms to try and get their way. So if you're not up and going, if you're not up there to try and be able to capture it the way you need to capture it and make your base strong, I mean, the AfCFTA will come and we may not benefit anywhere at all. So yes, we are here to protect our industry, to protect our base, and make sure that in as much as it falls within the rules of World Trade Organization, within the rules of free trade, we are able to stand up to the test. And the investigations we do, if you complain to us, we do investigations that could last for over a year. Because according to WTO, it's about a year and a half. So it's a painstaking investigations that are done to make sure that the right things are done. And so we are very well placed for the AfCFTA. So when government was negotiating, it was also putting in place such mechanisms to make sure that Ghana does not lose out entirely.
And finally, on the continental free trade area, what are some issues that you've identified? So, I mean, trading commenced not so long ago, and it's a work in progress. But so far, what are some things that you've identified that perhaps we need to pay more attention to?
Well, I'm glad you say a work in progress because, with these continental things, and regional, they take time to gel. People have been trading on their own as sovereign countries for a very long time. Their nationals, their systems are all used to trading in a certain kind of way. All of a sudden, there's a drive, and that's a correct drive towards coming together and towards opening up the borders, which is the right thing to do because in the current world, we are unable to stand individually. Already, we are very weak with our economies and from where we are coming. So the best way out for us is this international, the Africa Free Trade area that we've put in place. But we should give it time to gel. We should give it time to work because giving up bits of people's sovereignty is not that easy. Even though there's agreements Africa-wide that we should go and worldwide knows it's the right thing to do, it will take time to try and get all people to understand. What I think we should do some more is to try and up our media game, our advertisement, to let people know a lot more about what the benefits are, what can be achieved, what issues, what commodities are in there that can be traded at zero rates, what else cannot be traded. And I think that on that aspect, we should do a bit more. But aside of that, the mere setting up of the office and the fact that almost all African countries have bought into it is a very good thing, because all over the world, I mean, even with the developed countries, they are coming together. And you see how long it took the European Union to get where they are today. It tells you we have a long journey to go indeed. So that we should all be confident, but we should be patient to know that it's not a 1 day, a 2 week, a 1 year, 2 or 5, even 5 years matter. It's going to take much longer than that. But important is that the consciousness is there. We make progress bit by bit. And I can see, I mean, now there's an awareness generally around that this institution is around. There's an awareness that we can begin to export goods tariff-free to almost every country. But then still a lot more needs to be done, especially for the business community for themselves to really also come to appreciate the essence of it. So we'll get there, slowly, but I'm sure, it's gonna work. It's gonna work because we have to make it work. As a people, as continents, as nations in Africa, I believe that's the only way for us to go if we want to make our mark really and also be seen as what we want to be seen all over the world. We should make sure that this one will survive and thrive and do well.
So finally, before we go, in terms of conformity with international trade systems, what are the reports that are trooping in as far as goods exported from Ghana is concerned?
Well, I know that the general report about some of our goods is at times they don't meet the required standards, and that has been the problem all over. And so sometimes some of our goods are rejected. For instance, under AGWA, for instance, the American treaty with America for us to be able to export, we're not able to take full advantage of all the sectors because we're not able to meet all the specifications, all the sectors. Similar things happen under our treaties with the EU and stuff like that. But that's a problem of development. It's a problem of getting out. I believe that now we do much better than we used to do previously. And I'm sure that as we go on, and that's why I'm saying that we should all try to up our game, because the international trade business is a serious matter. So if you are going in, you need to meet the regulations, standards, and stuff like that, which is good. Which is why we should also make sure that before you come into our market, all those regulations and standards are met. I mean, take the issue of textiles, for instance. Textiles flood the market, very inferior. Everybody knows very inferior textiles come in compared to the ones we have here, you know. But they come in and people patronize them, you know. It's because perhaps where we need to strengthen our regulations to make sure that we're able to starve off these things from coming in, we do not do them well. And so they're able to find a way to come in and collapse our textile markets. Of course, steps have started being taken to make sure that some of these things are kept. But just to what you say, why we are unable to send things, export, that we want to, because of certain standards that we are unable to meet, we believe that same should be of Ghana, that when you're coming to Ghana, that you should respect the rules of Ghana, the laws of Ghana, and meet the specifications that we need. And this has got nothing to do with trying to close our borders or trying to not follow fair trade or liberalized trade regulations. No, that's not the point. The point is that just as every country has their rules and regulations, as you go in, you should also respect ours as you come in.
And the right thing must be done.
Thank you very much.
Right, so finally, before we go, your last words.
My last words is that we are on a good thing. We believe that as we get along, the vision of the government, of the president, is going to be met. I mean, in terms of industrialization, already we have 1D, 1F going. We have all sorts of other measures going on in the country. A matter of time to harness them, put them together, and then let them thrive. You know, as I keep saying, if the principle to me is good, no matter the problems you face, you should look at the principle, at the end products, and let's face it. Yes, 1D, 1F, is it good? What is the idea? If we believe it's a good thing, everybody knows it's a good thing, we're able to give industries all around so that people are able to get employment, people are able to get money, and we get government is able to tax them the way they have to tax them. If it's good, and we agree it's good, let us begin to support, no matter the difficulties now. And not let's begin to drag back and then because of that, close shop. Same as in the agri sector, you know, planting for food and jobs. Is the idea good? If it is good, everybody agrees it's good. Let us begin to then do things that will make it grow, will make agriculture very, agri-products very cheap so that we can buy things at very cheap prices, and then we don't have to complain too much about spending so much money on food and stuff like that. You know, once the objective is good and see the principle behind it is good, let us work towards it. Instead of then all of a sudden just closing shop and then beginning to negate all sorts of things and say that because of the present difficulties, we're unable to move on. We all know what problems, what difficulties, the countries that we look at today, where everybody wants to go, the European countries and wherever, what problems they faced to be where they are today. Yeah? And what problems they still face to be where they are or they want to go. So we should look at that and be encouraged. We should be encouraged and know that, look, once we keep on keeping on, we could get there. And all right, that's sign showing. I mean, the sign showing of all the factors that come in. Yes, every now and then there's a drawback. Why not? I mean, without endeavor, how do you move on? So there's drawbacks to come, but then let us be encouraged and know that, look, there's the end goal, and the end goal we all agree is good. Let us find ways of making it better and letting it work instead of finding ways of trying to draw it back. And then we do it all the time. Then after another 10 years or so, we start the whole cycle again. Oh, we should have done this, we should have done that, and nothing happens. So that's what I think that. So it's a very good thing that this commission has been set up. Government had the foresight to make sure that even as it brings in the Africa Free Trade headquarters to here, Ghana has the institutions to safeguard Ghanaian industries so that they don't collapse, that they're also able to compete. And I'm saying that competing is not to protect Ghanaian industries from competing at a higher level, but just to make sure that they have the means to compete at a higher level. That is it. And Ghana is not preventing anybody from coming to trade or coming to do business, but then if you are coming, it should be under regulations that are accepted worldwide.
And that was Mr. Frank Agyekum, the Executive Secretary of GITC. Don't go away, news and events comes up shortly.
Ohima, no be me I taking over first.
Why you? Didn't you tell you take the number give me?
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really?
Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talk mama what?
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fuel up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got hit first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him.
Hey, go for na buajungwa mami.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Goil is good energy.
Are you an importer or exporter? Do you need quick financing at the best rate on the market? ADB has good news for you. Walk into any agricultural development bank location nationwide for that solution to all your trade financing needs. ADB offers you pre-financing of exports and imports, post-shipment credit facilities, bank guarantees, the issuance and acceptance of letters of credit, documentary bills for collection, outward documentary collection. Enjoy free advisory services from our well-trained, dedicated trade officers. Exporters of agricultural products are encouraged to take advantage of this great service. For further enquiries, call us on 0302 210 210. ADB, making trade finance easy. ADB, truly agric and more.
And it's a wrap for today's edition of International Trade Focus. Join us same time next week for some more on international trade-related activities here in Ghana and beyond. International Trade Focus is brought to you by Goyle Good Energy, ADB, Truly, Agric and more, Public Elegance and Pediassi Valley Resort. My name is Anna Spio. Join us same time next week. Bye-bye.